Um, okay, so we are the bottom third of page Hay. The line starts with the Rosh Hashanah K'moy King, right?
I thought we got to the parentheses 2 lines down, but it doesn't have to go there.
The parentheses, no.
I thought we got to there.
Yeah, you may have, but not sufficiently. It was a stopover. So, we are pointing out, using the metaphor or the mashal of fire, how fire burns on a wick, and that really what holds the fire down is the oil. The oil keeps the fire going in a calm way, and thus the fire actually gives off light. Otherwise, it will be just a consuming fire rather than an illuminating fire. Would not have any, it would not really produce, so to speak, contribute any benefit. It would just consume. Whereas when there is the oil, then it slowly consumes the fuel, but in the process it benefits, it gives off light, and so forth. So this is a mashal for the nefesh olekis dealing with the nefesh abahamis. The nefesh olekis, as we discussed, in contemplating his bonus, thinking about the godless haberim, but all aspects of Elokus, while it is in a state, in connection with the body, with Gashmius. Therefore, it is actually manifesting and expressing Elokus through a physical metaphor, a physical illustration. Once it is in a physical illustration, the Nefesh Abahamis also recognizes it. So it's real to the Nefesh Abahamis as well. And then, as a result of this, the Nefesh Olekis becomes inflamed, so to speak, in its excitement of the recognition of Elokus. And that excitement, because it is contained in association with Gashmius, the Nefesh Abahamis also recognizes it, also feels it, and therefore the Nefesh Abahamis also gets some of that flame and that light. Okay, this is the general aspect that we're discussing. This is the concept of birur of the Nefesh Abahamis. And the principle in birur, as we have already stated, and we're going to bring it out more, the principle of birur is not destruction, not consumption. Birur means refinement. To refine it, refine the Nefesh Abahamis to the extent that it too begins to understand and appreciate and relate to Elokus. We gave the mashal, and we spoke about this and other mashalim, but the latest, the concept of refinement that you have, the mashal of the guest and the host. You know what I'm referring to? When the host, you invite somebody to be your guest, and you serve dinner. And it's a beautiful dinner that is really representative of the kind of host you are. And then, as soon as the guest sits down to eat the dinner, you walk away. So physically speaking, from a nefesh habahamis, from the MAAMAR perspective, you've done nothing wrong. I gave you your dinner. But from a human perspective, it's the biggest insult. By these kind of illustrations, the nefesh habahamis becomes more human, begins to appreciate the finer elements of the human being, to the extent that if you would say to a person, give it up, go and eat, he would feel terrible to lose that sensitivity. We spoke about this the other day. Nobody wants to give up this sensitivity, even though it is an intangible thing, because this is what defines him as a human being. If he loses that sensitivity, he loses something extremely important and central to being a human being. This is how the nefesh habahamis is given a sense what it means to be in partnership, so to speak, with the nefesh elikis, with the human soul. And from that, he can go further. He begins to recognize that quality and truth is more important than your experience. And he can ultimately live up to that. And he can then give him all kinds of enticements for taivas and all that. And he says, what's in there? There's no human quality to this. Yes, it'll fill my belly, but I can't descend to that. I can't participate in activities that don't have a redeeming factor. It's called redeeming factor. Redeeming factor means something valuable from a human perspective. This is a method of birur, of refinement of the nefesh habahamis. And the nefesh habahamis gets it as a result of its close association with the nefesh elikis. At first, he doesn't have it. But through the association and through the feeling what the nefesh elikis experiences, it also becomes refined and it also gets that sense. I mentioned to you, I think, in the Beis Hamikdash when they were eating lechem haponim. Remember that? Lechem haponim, which is a big mitzvah, lechem haponim. And the haponim had this very special quality that even one crumb of the nefesh of the lechem haponim would satisfy a person completely, as far as food is concerned. And the Kohanim were very anxious to get a little crumb. But the Gemara says that tznuim shebehem moshchu yedayim, that the final Kohanim, they would walk away, even though it's a huge mitzvah. But even to get a mitzvah, you have to retain the significance of who you are and why are you doing a mitzvah. There is a scene that's vivid in my mind. This is going now almost 20 years. I'm Gimel Tammuz. Everybody knows what Gimel Tammuz is. On Gimel Tammuz, they came out in 770 carrying the order. Would you walk over to the order and try to lift it? Would you? Who was carrying it? All kinds of people. People boast that, oh, you know, I carried it on. How do you dare to do that? That's gross insensitivity. It's extremely important. This is what Biru Nefesh Abba says. Don't be a behemoth. Oh, I did such a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing. That's a chutzpah shein kamei. That's called Biru Nefesh Abba. And this has to be attended to slowly until Nefesh Abba has a human face.
Is that no one lifted the cover it shows on the Bureau of Nefesh Abba?
What?
You say this, that nobody lifted the cover of the coffin shows on the Bureau?
We're talking about carrying the coffin.
Carried.
Yeah.
Okay. So when someone carried it, shows on Bureau?
Shows on grobkeit. What grobkeit is?
Yeah.
Insensitivity.
So the fact that people carried it somewhere?
In fact, the people, who are the people? Where did they belong to carry it?
Oh, it should have been left where it was. You mean?
Who do you think should have carried it, Mandiron?
Who do I think should have carried it? I have no idea.
Anybody?
I don't think so.
Huh?
Probably special people, like the Rabbs or something.
Right, okay. All right. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You get it? By any normal levaya, it should be the end of all levayas. They make an announcement. Anybody who did not go to mikveh, do not touch the oil. That's normal. That's even in very regular people. The chutzpah to walk over to carry the oil. I remember when President Kennedy was shot and killed. This is before your time. And there was, a big thing. By the goyim, they lie in state, and people pass by and look. So some politicians, some congressmen, they arranged to stand next to the coffin and arrange that the photographer, the house photographer should come and snap a picture of him. Right? Look who I am. I stand right next to the coffin. Okay? Everybody then said, oh, that was in bad taste. That was in bad taste. There's certain, even going recognized, there's certain respect that it doesn't belong in this kind of thing. This is much worse than bad taste. But the point is that we have to understand that Shabbat has to be mizbaver. And the more we understand, the more we refine ourselves, that's what the Avodah is all about. And I mentioned many times that the prerequisite, the first step towards understanding Elokus is to understand the human values, common sense. That's called Derech Eretz, called Mila Torah. Okay. Okay, so K'moi came behabir nefesh abamis. So similarly, the point we had the moshel from Yankiv and Esav, and Yitzchak wanted to give Esav the brachas because he would be mevarer Esav, and that was not correct because then if Esav had gotten the brachas, he would have been destroyed by the brachas. And the Peter has to come through Yankiv because it has to be accomplished in a gradual manner through Yankov's avodah. So K'moi came behabir nefesh habamis. A similar thing is true when we talk about the bir of nefesh habamis. How is the bir of nefesh habamis is who alidei hanefesh ho'elikis. The bir of nefesh habamis is not that you bestow a lot of brachas of nefesh habamis, give him all kind of power. This will destroy him. It is only through the nefesh ho'elikis. Shemizcha be'er imo. When he joins him, he connects with him. Umevarer le'at le'at. And he is mevarer, he refines him slowly, piecemeal, step by step. And how is it that you mevarer step by step? This is she'akoychois nefesh habamis. This is what I wanted. Why I'm going back to this. I'm going to discuss these few words. She'akoychois nefesh habamis nichlolim benefesh ho'elikis. The koichos of the nefesh habamis means the seichel and the midas, the functional element of nefesh habamis. Nichlolim are incorporated, joined into nefesh ho'elikis. Koichos again means seichel and midas and actions. Taiva is a nefesh habamis. To want, the taste and want, just desire to satisfy just because I want. Not because of any value, because of any need. So I want taiva. This is nefesh habamis. In association with the nefesh ho'elikis, nefesh ho'elikis explains through its own avodah, get the nefesh habamis sensitive to the inyan that yes, taiva this is a natural thing by you, but there has to be some kind of value, redeeming factor in it, some kind of value to it. Just to be mamali taiva is not becoming, doesn't suit, doesn't fit with your intellect. Slowly, nefesh habamis gets the idea. This is the koichos. In other words, this we discussed, and I want to discuss a little bit more. We accepted the Torah and we said Nasa v'nishma. Nasa v'nishma means that first we do and then we understand. There's much to speak about Nasa v'nishma. It's much richer, much greater than we think it is. But even we take it on a very simple level. So what do? You say, okay, do this. Do it because you're supposed to do it. Because I'm telling you to do it. So then you're doing it without any understanding, without any feeling for it. So what happens? You say nothing will happen. So I did it. So what happened now? Nothing happened? Nothing. Not true. This is the important thing to understand. You going to be here later, or because I have to sign something? Maybe you'll sign for me.
Okay.
What's the value of it? We are told, noch from Cheder on, for those who weren't in Cheder and those who, that when you stand in davening, you have to stand on one place and look in the ceiling, and you pointing the finger. So I'm doing it. So what happens? The nefesh habamis is the same. The nefesh habamis still wants to run outside and play, but you're forcing yourself to stand and daven. So you don't doing anything. You don't understand. You don't realize how that little thing has a profound effect ultimately on the nefesh habamis itself. Because after a while it begins to appreciate. Oh yeah, it seems respectable, it seems nice, it's in one place, and you're doing, and that opens up its sensitivities, its own seichel, and begins to understand what it means to act, to be human. and begins to feel for it. The nasa becomes the step towards nishma. These are two separate steps. The nasa becomes a step towards nishma. Once you refine your actions, then your seichel also opens up. You begin to understand things and you feel differently. This is why we say that the first place of avodah is on the koiches of the nefesh habayis. What am I learning? How do I understand it? How do I act? Even though I'm not up to it. I'm burning with anger, but I'm not going to show it. So what happened? But I'm burning with anger. This is going to ultimately be mevarer, the essence of that anger. Slowly and stepwise. I mentioned anger. I just want to elaborate a little bit. Behind the concept of anger, when a person gets so angry, behind the concept of anger is the thought that this is impossible. I cannot possibly live it down. Look what he said. Look what he did. In other words, it's something which is totally intolerable. You can't live it down. It has to be reacted to. I have to take vengeance, whatever it is. It's impossible. It's impossible to live with it. It's impossible to forgive. That's the thought behind it. If you are holding yourself back and you're not reacting, what happens then? You realize it's not impossible. Here, I went through it, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. It's possible. And once you realize it's possible, then you begin to realize that the whole thing really has no basis. Because a person, a yid, has much greater place in life than what this other person did to me. There's much more significance to life than what this person did to me or what this person did. And this you get to realize by being mevarer the koiches, the actions. This is why in Chassidus we start from Meiser, and then Dibur, and then Machshava, and then you go to Midas and Seichel. Because that's the way to be mevarer nefesh habayis. Okay. Avol ki lo yin the nefesh habayis bevas achas, but the absorption, the kiloyan, the nullification of nefesh habayis bevas achas at once. This is what I mentioned to you the other day, that there is a human tendency to go to extremes. Go to extremes. If he feels that he accomplishes something, he goes to extremes. The Rabbi says, no good. Stab him. This is not the path of birur. It's not a path of birur. Huh? Kiloyan means the consumption, like burning away, like a fire that's in the mechal. I'll skip the parentheses for the moment because I want to have the continuity. Ushleimus, you have the 2 lines down. Ushleimus hakavono. The shleimus hakavono, the complete and the perfect intent, the habiru, the nefesh habayis, in the process of biru nefesh habayis, who davka, is only emphatically kisha nefesh hoelikis nechas. But the nefesh hoelikis Neches means grabs hold, touches. Umischaber boy and joins him, levareroi to refine him. Nefesh Elokis has to actually pay attention to the Nefesh Abamis and give it, and explain to him, and show him where, bring light to the Nefesh Abamis and show him how this is much more significant, much better, much more human, and that's how you mevar Nefesh Abamis. All right, I'll go back to the parentheses, not because I don't want to skip anything. So, v'dugma lozeh yesh loymar l'cha'oira. What would be an example of the union of kiloya nefesh abamis, of consumption and elimination, destruction of nefesh abamis? L'cha'oira, it would seem, by tshuva b'cheilo yatir. There's a word yatir missing. Tshuva b'cheilo yatir. Tshuva with great power. Shenepach ha-nefesh abamis bebas achas. Where the nefesh abamis gets transformed almost suddenly in one moment. There is a Gemara tells a famous story. Probably you heard it. There was a Elazar ben Dordaya. The Gemara speaks about. Elazar ben Dordaya was a very lowly person. He committed every sin under the sun. And then something happened, and it touched him, and he realizes how low, where he went. And he regretted all of that. So he sat down, and he bent over, and he put his head between his legs, and he cried himself to death. But from aggravation, he cried, and as a result of this tshuva, he's called in the Gemara REBBE Elazar ben Dordaya. REBBE Elazar ben Dordaya. But this tshuva, he says, this type of, and this sudden thing, this is not the derech hatshuva. This was an exceptional moment. As a matter of fact, it says that Elazar ben Dordaya, he was a gilgul of Elisha Acher. You heard of Acher? Elisha ben Avuya? Yeah. So there he fell. He was a great man, and he fell, and therefore he had elevated in a shoma in one moment. But this is not the derech. This is called b'cheila yatir, a complete transformation. But then nothing. That's it. This was the end of it. And then he says, Avol, however, ein zeh dimion amiti lozeh. In fact, this is not really a dimion amiti. Is not a correct and a true comparison to the union of consuming the nefesh abamis. Because there, the nefesh abamis was actually not the consuming. The nefesh abamis was actually transforming, but transforming very quickly. But consuming means destroying it, taking away the chayes from it. So that is not really a derech avodah. Ki'im yuvam bedugma ma she'omer Razal. What would be a dugma? What would be an example of kiloi nefesh abamis b'vas achas, of consuming nefesh abamis in one moment? This is similar to what Chazal say, nosan ein of bei v'nasa gal shel atzomis. somebody who was chutzpahdik and completely defying. Defying means showing absolutely no respect for Yiddishkeit, for Torah, for Chachomim. So it says, "Nosam einam bosohi." So the Chacham, the Tana, focused in on him, and he drew his chayes out of him. Nasa gal shel atzomis, and he became a heap of bones. Poshet died. He drew all the chayes out of him. This is the pshat, like you destroy the whole mitzvah of the Nefesh Abba. Okay.
Gal is what?
Huh?
What's gal?
Gal is a heap, a mountain.
And what's Bechol Yoyzer?
Chela Yatin means great power, great strength. Chela means strength. Yatin means excessive strength, very strong.
And is Chayil like the same word as Chayil?
Chayil, yeah. Okay, so this is a small detour. In order that to facilitate, to make possible that there should be his chabrus, a joining between the nefesh olikis and the nefesh abamis. That they should actually relate to one another. These two completely opposite tendencies should be able to relate to one another. Lihiyois ho'esh zoro, the nefesh habamis, so that the strange fire, eish zoro, the foreign fire, I'll explain the expression eish zoro in a moment. Lihiyois ho'esh zoro, the nefesh habamis, that the foreign fire of the nefesh habamis should be nisraf, should be burnt up, and consumed, beho'esh, the nefesh olikis, in the fire of the nefesh olikis. So, to explain this line over here, I'll start backwards. The fire of the nefesh habamis is consumed and burnt up in the fire of the nefesh olikis. You're not burning up the nefesh habamis itself. You're burning up its excitement, its fire. You understand? It's taiva, not the nefesh habamis itself. This is the union of Bir Nefesh Habamis, that the fire of Nefesh Habamis is burnt up by the fire of the Nefesh Olikis. Nefesh Habamis has taivas. You are burning up his taivas, and including the taiva, that the taiva should be to those things that the Nefesh Olikis provides for it. This means that the fire is nichla. In other words, Nefesh Habamis has taivas. There's two ways of dealing with it. Either to take the chayas out of it, you shouldn't have any taivas at all. You should not have any chayas into anything. Or you should, that the chayas that's in this taiva should be invested in learning and davening and doing mitzvahs. But the fire gets consumed by the fire of Nefesh HaLakis. And this fire of the Nefesh Habamis is called Eish Zora. Eish Zora, the word Zora means foreign, strange. The significance of that term, that it is a strange and foreign desire, is in the fact that everything that exists, the Nefesh Olikis and the Nefesh Habamis, they get their presence and their chayus from Elokus. The Rebbe creates everything. When the nefesh habahamis of a Yid step back a minute. What is the fire? What is the fire of nefesh habahamis? Fire the nefesh elikis. So we discussed a little bit, fire the nefesh elikis. He sees godliness, he sees purity, he sees truth, like we said in all this Mishon. What is the fire of the nefesh habahamis? A person sees a piece of food that's very, very luscious, very, very tasty. And he gets all excited. What is this excitement about? Excitement is not that, I'd like to understand the difference. The excitement is not, look what kind of food the Rebbe was able to create. What kind of food there is in the world. No. How excited, how good I will feel if I eat it. It has nothing to do with the reality. That's his excitement. So it has nothing to do with the reality at all. It's entirely on his personal experience. Look at Zorah. It's not the fire that comes, that has a true basis. So this fire has to be consumed by the fire of the Nefesh Elikis. So that, what is the fire? He says, okay, you get excited, but that excitement should have a basis. What's in this? It should have some kind of a sense of value. Not a person made a lot of money. I think it'll be easier to made a lot of money, okay? Really a lot of money. Okay? And he's excited about the fact that he has a lot of money. What is he going to do with that money? He's going to have it. He's excited, I have a lot of money. That's it. The money has no value to you. Because he has no idea what he wants to do with it. He has no idea what value it has. It has only one value. I have a lot of money. That's called Zorah, because there is no reality to it. Never the Keys comes and says, money is a wonderful thing. Think of what you can do with it. So he says, oh, I can go on vacation. No, that's not what I mean. That's all about you. What this money can make, can do, can create, can build. What good things you can do with it. Oh yeah, really. So that connects it to some kind of a real value of truth. This is the fire of Nefesh Keys taking over the fire of Nefesh Habahamis. And this is why this is called Zorah. Because that fire has absolutely no significance. It's self-made. Zorah means self-made. There's no real value to it. The other day, this is going back, a while ago I mentioned different, but it's happening all the time. I have two things I want to mention about money. One thing was, it was an elderly couple passed away. And they lived like paupers. You know what paupers means? They lived like total poverty. And when they went in, they opened up their mattress. The mattress was stuffed with money.
So they were misers.
Huh?
So they were misers.
They were misers. They were not misers. They had this strange sense of value. They did not relate to the truth of things. Money has a function. And if there is no function, just possession, that's strange. A person, everything is emotional chassidus. In the Philippines, there was a revolution. Philippines, the Philippines is an island. There's a revolution, and the dictator of the Philippines, okay, they lived, of the people, they lived lusciously with all that. And the woman, his wife, she had a craze for shoes. So they went into her storage, thousands of different shoes, of all shapes and colors. Now tell me, what are shoes for? What shoes?
Still walking.
Huh? Yeah, this is a Zora. Total estrangement of reality. Every type of Nefesh Abam is a Zora. I gave you an example of extremes, but every type of Nefesh Abam is a Zora. The other example I wanted to give is, this is more recent. Somebody died and left enormous amount of money, like millions of dollars. And who was the heir? To whom was this money bequeathed? To his dog. So you laugh, right? He says, what do you mean? I love this dog. I gave him. What? This love for dog, is that a reality? Or is that strange? That's a creation of your own imagination. Is there any real value in this love for the dog? Is there any human value in this? Nothing. But that's Zorah. Zorah is a person. This is the human being is capable of formulating all kinds of ideas, and they become real to him because of his haseichel. They become real to him, but he has to be able to distinguish between something real and something that is strange. The Nefesh Elokis keeps you focused on the reality. Nefesh Abamis couldn't care less. I'm enjoying it. Makes no difference whether it has value or not. That's called a Zorah. And the only way to be mevared an Eish Zorah is to give it a taste of the fire of Nefesh Elokis, a sense of true human value. Okay.
Does that mean now the excitement of the Nefesh Abamis will be for things that have real value?
Yes, I mean slowly. The process is a long process. For the Nefesh Abamis to be complete in his hapek, that's a long, that's a long part. But one thing will be that the Nefesh Abamis will seek some kind of, as I said, redeeming value. Like I mentioned I mentioned here in the other class. It's an interesting thing. A person wants to have kavod. Every person wants to, he's got money, he wants to buy kavod. So what does he do? He gives a large sum of money to charity. And then he wants that they should make a dinner in his honor, and they should announce it, and they should proclaim what a nice person he is, what a wonderful person he is. So he's got all kinds of kavod. But what does he get the kavod from? From something good. That he did something good, so at least there is some relationship to something real. Think about the opposite, what's doing in klippos, in real klippos. But there is no Nefesh Elokis effect. You go to the low underworld. You go to the underworld, to the mafia. What is an honorable act by them? Who gets covered by them? Somebody who killed a couple of people. That's a man. Can you imagine? Okay. This man is also six covered. He's not a man, but he still has some kind of sense of value. There is a complete opposite. Moment, it's wrong. And it makes perfect good sense to them. That's the problem. That's the amazing thing. Okay, weiter. So that Eish Zora of the Nefesh Abamis should be Nisra v'Nichle beho'eish Nefesh Olekis. The Nefesh Olekis provides it with this light, with this fire, that the Nefesh Abamis each fire is joined in. And that happens, Zehu, Alidei Hashem and Davko. That happens, this joining together is Alidei Hashem and Davko is exclusively through the presence of oil. Because this is going to be discussed, but in principle, because oil allows the fire to produce light, not just fire. Fire is fire. But when the fire begins to produce light, you begin to see, it's being appreciated. And you can experience it. And this is how the Nefesh Abamis gets enticed, gets drawn into the appreciation of what Nefesh Olekis is talking about.
Do what?
Huh?
Do what? Does it get drawn? The showers get drawn?
To the light that comes from the fire of the Nefesh Olekis. That's the shaman allows the light to produce, the fire to produce light. Instead of just fire. The fire of Nefesh Abamis has no light. Because it's strange. It's just his personal experience. But the fire, the Nefesh Olekis produces light. And the Nefesh Abamis, the fire of Nefesh Abamis is affected by it. He says, fire can produce light. It's wonderful. We'll see in a minute more on this. The Inyan Hashem and Beruchnius. What is, in fact, this is all a moshel. The Gashmis, it works because this is how it is Beruchnius. What is Shem and Beruchnius? What's oil in the Ruchnisdike world? Hu Bechinas HaChochma. This is the aspect of Chochma. V'hainu, and that is referring to Bechinas Chochma de Torah. That is the Chochma of Torah. Shenikro Shemen Mishchas Kodesh. Torah is called, the Chochma of Torah is called Shemen Mishchas Kodesh. It's called the holy oil. Shenimshach, because it's drawn Bechinas Kodesh Ho'elyin. It is drawn from the holy source from above. Bechinas Pnimius Chochma Ilah. Of the Pnimius of Chochma Ilah. All right. We'll try to briefly focus in on what we just now learned. Chochma, the Torah, Chochma Ilah, and so forth. And how is Chochma an example, Beruchni, is how is Chokhmah similar to oil. Like you said, oil. But this is an example of Chokhmah. Chokhmah, to explain Chokhmah, of course we all have Chokhmah. But to make us focus and kind of relate to that Chokhmah that we have to use a Gashmistic illustration so that, oh, that's what you mean. Because otherwise there's nothing to show. And the Chokhmah we all experience Chokhmah, we all experience Bina, we all experience Dats, but pin it down, what is it? Which one is the Das, which is the Chokhmah, which is the Bina? It's very hard. So the moshel, the Gashmis, the Rebbe should provide a moshel for everything, so that we can be able to get to understand and to know everything. The moshel for Chokhmah is light, sight. In sight, the experience of sight, as we always explain, that sight is a wonderful, it's really a phenomenal, miraculous thing. In sight, there are two distinct madrigas, three distinct madrigas. What we are talking about two. There is there are the details, what you see. What do you see? How everything is apportioned, everything is in its right place. This room, and the tables and chairs, everything is in the right place, and it expresses a certain functionality. Functionality means what this room is about, and so forth. And then there is, step back for a second. All of these details and all the functional aspects also comes through seeing, but it is also possible to identify everything in the room in the dark. If you come into this room and it's perfectly dark, you can walk around the room and feel your way around and identify every last piece that's in the room. And even after you identify everything, there's something going to be missing. The element of sight. What is this sight? What does sight add? To put it simple, sight gives you a sense of the reality. Not just that I feel it and so to speak, I'm convinced that it's there. But it's beyond conviction. Something that I touch, so I have I have proof that it's there because I touch it. Something that I see is beyond proof. This is the reality itself. Nobody will say, I have proof that this is there because I see it. I have proof that it's there because I feel it, yes. But when I see it, it's beyond proof. What does proof mean? What is the difference? Proof means that I can be in a state where I don't know it, and this proves it that I know it. This is how I get to know things by touch. Sight eliminates the whole possibility that I don't know it. When I know it by sight, it's as if I always knew it, because I see the reality of it. I'm sorry?
So it's as if you always knew it.
It's as if you are right, because you relate to it not as something novel that you found out. You see that this is real. So it was there all the time. That which you find out by touch, you're finding out from here onward. But the fact that it was there an hour ago That's nothing to do with your touch. Whereas in sight, it relates you to the reality, how it was all the time. You didn't see it, you weren't there, but it was there. This is why sight is infinitely more powerful than let's say, if you look at a person, oh, I know this is you. How do you know it's you? It's you. I don't know how. If I touch you and I, examine you, then I know if I know, I can always give you an example. If you see a person from the back, see a person from the back, and you say, oh, this must be lady, shmuel, whatever it is. How do you know? You know, he looks like it. This is his step. This is his frame. This is how he walks. Something that makes you think of him. But when you see him frontally, you don't think of it in terms of how do I know that's him. This is him. I know that this is him just the way he knows himself that this is him. It's not finding out. I know him by the same way as he knows himself. This is the truth. This is Chokhmah. This knowledge, this is Chokhmah. This is Chokhmah. This is what gives us knowledge of the godly truth in a way that we do not require proof and explanations or anything. This is reality. From that, we can derive understanding and Bina and so forth. But the reality itself, that is real. This is why Chokhmah is also called Amunah. There are different madreges in Chokhmah, but one madrege in Chokhmah is called Amunah. I once explained, I don't remember it here. Amunah, the word Amunah means steadfast. Amunah means steady, steadfast, strong. Remember I explained about Moshe Rabbeinu. That Moshe Rabbeinu, when Yeshua went out to fight Amalek, you know the story? Amalek came to fight him. And Yeshua, and Moshe Rabbeinu says, go out and fight Amalek. And I will go on the hill, and I will pray for you. So it says that Moshe Rabbeinu went out on the hill, together with Aaron and Hur. And when Moshe lifted his arms, then Yeshua was victorious. When Moshe lowered his arms, then Amalek was victorious. They said in Torah. So Moshe Rabbeinu had to hold up his arm, but Moshe Rabbeinu's hands became heavy. You couldn't hold them up. So Aaron and Hur, so they put a rock, and Moshe Rabbeinu sat down on the rock. And Aaron and Hur supported his arms from both sides. And then it says, Vayi Yodov Emunah Adei HaShomesh. His hands were up, and Emunah was steadfast. That means, was meant to steadfast, because they were being held up, not by his effort. It was the reality that his hands were up. Just like when you look at a person, you know him, not by your effort, because I know, because that's him. So Amunah means steadfast, something that has no possibility of wavering, of doubt, of question. This is it. Chokhmah has that purity of knowledge. Chokhmah relates to the godly truth. No wavering. This is like the oil. Oil, as we're still going over it, oil is something that it's extremely calm, right? It seeps into everything. It seeps into everything because because of its purity. It doesn't mix with anything. You can't mix oil with anything. You can put oil on top of water and twirl it. It will remain a separate entity because it's pure. It doesn't mix with anything. This chokhmah that the Nefesh Elokis provides for the Nefesh Abamis, this Chokhmah is what allows the Nefesh Abamis to join with the Nefesh Elokis. Because the Nefesh, as we're going to see, the Nefesh Elokis, as we said before, shows the Nefesh Abamis a pure truth, not a truth that normally you think one way, I think another way, right? So we have different thoughts. I want to convince you the way I think, you want to convince me the way you think. But if I don't let that convince you, I'm showing you the truth that is beyond your own thinking, the truth itself. Then there is no argument anymore. Because this is, you see, this is all the reality. This is called Chokhmah. And this is how the Nefesh Abamis is able to make the join Nefesh Abamis, the Nefesh Elokis is able to make Nefesh Abamis join in the fire of the Nefesh Elokis through this oil, as we're going to still learn. Mitzvah Hashem.
So you said that there are two levels of things? Once you said that there's two levels of sight?
Yes.
But I didn't really catch the difference between the two.
No, I did not go into the two. I did not, because I wanted to focus in on the real level of sight as it is emotional for Chokhmah. The other level of sight is similar to touch. Like the light reverberates, is deflected from the object. Physically, how do the scientists explain sight? They don't say it's chokhmah. They say it's a physical phenomenon. There's light, the light is deflected from the object, and it hits your eye, and that's how you see.
So I mean, the light isn't the true thing?
What?
So what does that show?
But it's no different than I touch it. Right? I touch it, it affects my hand, I feel it in my hand, and therefore I know it's there.
So you feel light?
Yeah. The eye is sensitive to light.
I feel light.
The eye is sensitive. They say it's the same thing like a camera. What's a camera? Also, it's sensitive to light, and therefore it can take a picture, an accurate picture too. But this is what's called the chitzenius. This is the functional element, the physical element of sight. The real sight is, as we explained before.
Okay, I won't bother.
I'm sorry?
I don't really bother to try to figure out, because it's not the main thing that we're trying to say. So.
Oh, but you understand the first thing. That's the main thing.
Well, the one that you explained,
Yeah. Okay. That's the main thing. All right.